to the rationalinvestor.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the rationalinvestor.com's Daily Brief Market Summary. I did like about a half an hour rant there yesterday, and big sort of shill. So my apologies. I can see the number of viewers has dropped off dramatically. Sure, a lot of people are like, yeah, I really want to sit there for 20 minutes listening to you shill. But what the hell? This is pretty impromptu, off the cuff, but I really should try and get a little bit more discipline here. So anyway. 5 minutes past the top of the hour. Also, on Tuesdays now, actually, I'm teaching a class this term. That class we're going to start at 11 o'clock. So we got to be super crisp here with time. Maybe see if we can finish the after party around 10:30 or so. Today is Tuesday also, which means that it is Crypto Tuesday. Which means that we should have our TRI CTO, Stuart, on the call. And that weird how Zoom, I've lost all the sort of market, room participants. Don't have that window open. All I have is the chat. I always like to see whether Chris has got his camera on or not. Anyway. I can't see that. So anyway, hello, Michael. Mr. Frugalore has joined us. Actually, an active member in our secret options formula club meeting tonight, which of course Tuesdays we have that meeting. So I'll see Michael here later on tonight. Also, too, I invited Michael, FYI, Chris, to come down and join us in Seattle on the night of the 6th. Mind you, you're going to get in really late. So actually, you probably missed that dinner. But anyway, I think Francis said that he was thinking about trying to get together for dinner with us on the 6th, and maybe Michael will join us. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. All right, so today is Tuesday, Pentecook Tuesday, TRICTO Tuesday. So we do have Stuart on the after party video. How do you join the after party? All you got to do is pop on over to the rationalinvestor.com and you can sign up for the free 30-day trial, get to know us a little bit, I would even say just something like Stuart's report on Tuesdays and his report on how he's managing the money that we've allocated to him and his Joe Sixpack crypto portfolio. Hell, that's worth the price of the silver subscription alone. But we'll check in with Stuart here in the after party here today. Just give you a brief overview of what I'm seeing in the market. Econs wise, again, another day of really, really light econs. We have the American Petroleum Institute's crude oil supplies that comes out basically after the market closes. You can see like econ wise, and keep in mind, Canada only represents about 3% of the world's equity market. So it's funny whenever I talk to people down in the States, especially like the deep South and stuff. They don't even know where the hell Canada is. I used to live in LA, and man, those girls, and I suppose a lot of boys too, for that matter, they're dumb as fence posts. And they didn't even think we had electricity in Canada when we lived down there. Mind you, of course, they're much smarter than nowadays, these Californians, right? Anyway. So to all intents and purposes, this is a non-event, but nonetheless, the Canadians think awfully high of themselves. So we did have a Canadian econ report came out, and it showed the house market. Thank God, finally we're getting a little bit of reasonability here in this market. The only question is, do these prices ultimately crash? And you want to see the definition of a bubble? That, my friends, is the definition of a bubble. Straight up. All these idiots all went piling in and panic bought. Typical, This is exactly like that counters ratio that I was showing you guys on Bitcoin on the ETF. It's the exact same thing. It's just this is for like housing industry, and this is like the new housing price index. Just absolute insane panic buy. Everybody just panic FOMOing in, and literally they've completely erased all of those that price appreciation. I mean, I don't know whether the prices themselves will come down because that's more a function of this silly bankster crook Fakasi that's going on here, the Great Reset. You heard me bark about that at nauseum. But I do believe that the bubble is it's over. The bubble has popped, and now the question ultimately is where the hell does this thing base out, and does it take next 10, 15 years for it to base out? I don't know. Tough to say. If anything, all those people worried about inflation, you really don't want to see this damn thing tick back up. But considering that our forecast is for 2027, 2028, another massive wave of Klaus's great reset up the butt, my hunch is this thing's probably going to, at the very least, carve out like a head and shoulders top here. And we get a little bit of a rebound over the next few years to carve out that head and shoulders. Question ultimately, does this actually start going into negatives? You can see it is negative now. And does this trend lower? You can see it's trying to base. If, I want to buy a house for my son, and of course, this is just absolute crookery what this stupid toilet water guy did to our country. And I think it's absolutely part of the Great Reset bullshit plan. I don't know. If anything, I would love to see that actually this goes the exact opposite direction, and we get in Canada what the Americans had to go through in 2008, because in essence, it's the exact carbon copy scenario. Prices are ridiculously too high. There's no internal demand. Prices themselves are way beyond affordability. It's like laughable how unaffordable all of this is. And it's such a great anecdote of the way these stupid humans act through these Jupiter Saturn cross cyclic peaks. And if anything, all of you watching these free offerings that I do, for God's sakes, learn from this. Make a note, from now on, if I ever hear talk about a Jupiter Saturn cross, don't buy anything for a year or two after the event, because it's probably all bullshit. The same thing happened in 2000 in Canada, where Nortel Networks, which is a .com stock, basically the .com boom nonsense, the stupid Canadians bid one stock that it was more than 35% of the entire Canadian economy. I mean, just ridiculous. So, and 5 years later, Nortel Networks is bankrupt, shares worth zero. So hey, I'd love it if the houses were worth zero. I'm sure there's a bunch of people though here that probably wouldn't appreciate that happening, because they are long housing stock right now. So anyway, we'll see how that goes. So once again, another day where very little econs down in the States. So I can understand that market's kind of just drifting here. Interesting, we finally had a day where Japan's down. I mean, Jesus, Japan's just been going crazy here. They're actually kind of stretching here. U.S. 5th District factory order activity weakest in 11 months. Wow, they are really trying to find a dig for news headlines today. Interesting. This whole shipping issue is probably going to inject a bunch of inflation into our lives. And it would be interesting too if we found out down the road. Keep in mind, the central banksters, they funded Adolf Hitler. They also funded Lenin and the communist revolution in Russia. Hell, you could argue that they funded John Wilkes Booth and the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. I wouldn't even be surprised if we found out 50 years. You're never going to find out in real time, but it wouldn't surprise me one bit to find out 50 years from now that they're actually behind all this activity in the Middle East to try and jack inflation up there. But anyway, that's conspiracy. You like my conspiracy hat? It's a handsome hat, isn't it? I also drink beer in this hat. Mind you, man, I haven't drunk a beer in a while. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Looking at the market in particular, like I said, kind of a slow news day. We had talked a bit about this yesterday. Oil prices going higher, and man, did I ever fat finger. I mean, I didn't lose any money, but wow, I sure left a lot of money on the table here today. If anything, this is a great lesson for all of you, patience and discipline, and don't fuck with your trading plans. And don't go and move your stops prematurely. So I was in an opening range trade. I'd had my initial profit objective hit. So I did make money on the trade. Saw this M come in here. My rule is at this point, I get to move my stop to scratch. So, and I actually got a shitty fill. I got filled on this candle here. So I was long from 61, even though I should have been long from 59. And the market was moving up, put this M in here, and I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just move my stop, get a little cheeky, and I moved it to below these lows because I figured if we went through these lows, we'd probably come down here and I'd get stopped out because that low there was 59. And like I said, I actually had a crappy fill at 61 and I didn't want to take a loss on the other part of the order. So I moved my stop to like 65, one tick below these lows. And look at what these jerks did to me. Ah, the bastards. So they washed me out, took the market down to 63. Remember, my stop was supposed to be at 61. And look at what happened on the other side of that. Hey, caramba, it's a trader's life. But here's a really, really good example where, you know, a mistake that was made, and this was a mistake. Holy crap, can one mistake ever cost you? It's not really like I lost any money, but I left a lot of money on the table here today, folks. So anyway, if I'm a little bit salty today, it's probably because and you know, this should go on my demon finder. This was an outright mistake. What I'm going to chalk this up to is, well, my trading partner bailed on me today, so I was trading on my own. So that's why I made the mistake. Yeah, right. Take ownership of your mistakes, Brian. You made the mistake because you fucked up. Say it plain and simple. But anyway, what the hell? I was quite pleased to see that I crossed the 33% threshold. You know, this funny little prop firm that I used to work for, they want you to jump through hoops before they'll give you any real money. And I just picked the smallest account that they had, and you had to make $3,000 for them before they'll talk to you. And I'm up now $1,000. Just trading these little micro contracts and doing this demonstration opening range trade for you guys. So everything's going along fine, but what a great analogy. I would be a help a hell of a lot more today if I didn't fuck that up. But nonetheless, it is what it is. So, hey, I can't complain. A profit is a profit is a profit. So I made a little bit of money day trading today, but nothing to really write home about. January barometer, and you know, this is sort of what I think is probably going to drive if the stock market has to come back down to earth. And things like Bitcoin and stuff like that. I spent a lot of time yesterday talking about how, with the community, how if energy prices are moving higher, that usually crimps demand for technology purchases from companies and even individuals for that matter. But also, too, you know, I mean, you think of Bitcoin, Bitcoin has a cost of production. There is some sort of fundamental cost for all of this. So if energy prices are cranking higher, then that means profit margins for things like Bitcoin's probably falling. So this has got a lot of W's working. We did break through a trend line. You know, the question ultimately now is, do we get that W on the other side of the trend line to launch this thing higher? You can see Foggy Boggies up top here. So if this thing gets ahead of steam ahead of it, I think there is a bit of up. And as a result, when we were looking at things like the stock market, actually flirting with actual outright sell signals here. I don't know whether we did this in the free broadcast, but this is like the January barometer report. There's the beginning of January. Here is the end. These various lines are the first hour, first day, first week. Give you an idea what market's kind of thinking. And of course, this is the full month. Also, too, this is a megaphone pattern. Today's Tuesday, our Stock Picker Club meeting. In fact, I've invited all of the current level 3 students to all of the club meetings. And I don't mind inviting the level 1 and level 2 students to all the club meetings, but on a read-only basis, if you do want to sort of get to see what all our various different trading clubs do. We have a day trader club. We have a a stock pickers club. I've talked to you guys about David and his work. We also have, what else? Harmonics room. One of our OGs, Stephen, is absolute harmonic god. Anyway, and you could make the argument that this could actually fall into both the stock pickers club with David and his head and shoulders and megaphones and stuff. But you could also make the argument this is an AB equals CD harmonic pattern. So maybe both David and Stephen would chime in on this. But we actually get a 3-bar fractal fail signal if we went through yesterday's low, which was 482.86, and today's low here, 482.89. Wow, that's close, eh? So it came within 3 ticks of issuing a sell signal. And, this thing's looking awfully red. That would be a 3-bar fractal fail. If we finish the day kind of looking like this, well, that's going to be an M top, right? That'll be a double top breakdown if we go through that level then. So keep your eyes peeled, right? And as I said, I think this is predicated on whether energy prices go absolutely crazy here. And, what the hell's going on over there in the Middle East? You got stuff with Iran, sort of, I don't, again, this reminds me of sort of what's happening in Israel right now. If Iran actually raised its head up and said, you know what, we're going to go to war with you, USA, that's an excuse that the USA will just mop the floor with them. And it would basically be suicide on Iran's part. So I'm not quite sure what their end game is. What can they possibly achieve out of all this? I have no idea. But nonetheless, whole bunch of tensions all around Iran, typical. Saudis kind of said that, hey, you know what, we're not going to support the peace process and recognize Israel until we have 2-state solution kind of stuff. So that was a big step backwards. And then, of course, you got all this shipping lane stuff and the Red Sea and stuff with the Houthis and all that. So, does that all blow up in our faces and all hell breaks loose and, oil prices take off? That might be a really good reason why the stock market might get punched in the nose here. That's the S&P 500. I think probably more acutely, as I showed you earlier, I actually think that the NASDAQ has actually broken down. So here's our NASDAQ chart that we were analyzing yesterday. There's a double top breakdown there. 38.2 is 50%. So you can see how far this thing's got to come back down here. And of course, wanting to actually be a buyer, of course, I'm all about reload zones. And what a big surprise. Reload zone is nothing more than a Wyckoff check and a check of key support levels, look left kind of idea. So I wouldn't be shocked if it actually had to bring the market all the way back down into these areas into the end of the month. And then the last thing I would say with all this is, of course, we have a FOMC meeting coming up here the end of the month. And ironically enough, if you are a bull, you would actually want to see the market sell off into that Fed announcement. And I think Chris even said yesterday that it's like the end of July, beginning of February. I can't remember the date exactly. I'll firm that up. I think I have it over here. FOMC. Nope, that's not it. Here it is here. 29th. Is that right, Chris? 29th? Does that sound about right? Anyway, point here is 29th through the 31st. 3 days? Wow, that's 30th and 31st. Beg your pardon. Gee whiz, get your act together, Brian. There you go. 31st. If anything, if you are a bull, you don't want to see the stock market rally into this event. You actually want to see the market pull back into this. So in a weird sort of way, seeing these tops kind of starting to form here, not really anything real egregious on the daily charts. Russell 2000, though, interesting how it has broken down. But from the way the expression goes is if they sell the rumor, then you want to buy the news. If they buy the rumor, then you want to sell the news. So it's interesting how watching this, let's see what they do with the stock market heading into this. Considering our January barometer kind of conversation, I would actually prefer that they do bring this back down here. It would sort of validate our January barometer kind of thinking. And also too, like I said, I get the impression that we're on the back end of the whole Fed cycle, not on the front end. So back end would mean they're worried about the Fed raising rates, but it turns out that when the Fed meets, they say things like, well, we're actually getting closer to finishing our rate increase agenda, and the whole dot plot. 6 months from now, we expect to cut rates and all that kind of talk. So that would imply sell the market off into that event. Then, the market sees that the Fed's near the end of the cycle and maybe they're feeling a little bit more bullish and they rally the market on the other side of that. Well, we'll see what happens. Finish off this free broadcast. Quick boo at the yield corn. I said it yesterday, and actually that was absolutely spot on. Perfect analysis. Through the broiler chicken show. And yesterday I had said my hunch was that they had a date had a date with the 13 EMA here, and you can see the market literally went stabbing below it, and then is sitting right now right on that 13 EMA. This is why I like to use this particular moving average. I also think too, though, that this is a midpoint doji consolidation. So this is the left half of the move. If this is a midpoint doji consolidation, of course, we lost that low, then you can go A to B, C to D, which paints a target of 34.7776. And that's, interesting enough. You can see 30 SMA is probably going to be in that area. There's also a pretty significant trend line here that will act as support there as well. Does this stuff ever move in a straight line? I don't think so. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some backfilling. We probably even come back up and maybe even play a little bit up in that wick. We have found a little bit of a support here. And if we drill down to lower time frame charts, this is now off of that 4-hour chart. So A to B, C to D off of the 4-hour charts, painting a bearish harmonic down here, 38. There is that weekly objective, 34. But notice we have a pretty significant low to a high trend line here that has had a lot of respect over the past 6 months. There's the beginning of it from that market structure low all the way against this market structure high. So low to high, and you can see all the way up here. This trend line was respected pretty well there. You can see the market double bottomed, checked, accepted higher, came back down, tested it there. This is a pretty important trend line in my eyes. So interesting how this also happens to be that 13 EMA off the weekly charts. This is a pretty key support level. And you might even argue, we could probably draw up things like bear AB equals CDs, which means bearish bots. Did we have an entry in here somewhere? Just eyeballing it looks like. So do you move stop to scratch? Do you move stop to trailing? Maybe in the after party, I'll do those numbers up. So had you taken a short here, what should be your stance right now? If we think, if we have done 66% of this move, which it kind of looks like, then we should be locking in profits and using the 3 high-low method. There's one key high. It looks like there's another key high. It looks like the next key high is up here. If you wanted to use this high, I'd be fine with that. So it looks like your stop should be somewhere up in this area here. And my hunch is probably right up against this level here. So not even really a buy signal. I think we just bounced off that 13 EMA. We bounced off that low to high trend line. Market feels, rather washed out. And could we use a little bit of back and forth here to sort of right the ship? Do we have any signs of divergence yet? Not really. Willie's not even stupidly oversold. You can see the bears are definitely driving the bus here, but you can see they're kind of losing momentum here. So if we start seeing some selling bars here, red bars that are just like no volume at all, then that's probably some anecdotal evidence that the bears are running out of steam. And then also too, if we get some sort of counter trend rally up here that pushes this histogram back above these highs, then we can start talking about bullish divergence and actually looking for rallies. But for the time being, nothing to talk about rally at all. All right, I think I'm going to leave the free broadcast at that. That was about 25 minutes. Come on over and hang out with Mr. Panicook himself. He'll talk crypto and what he's seeing in the crypto space, as well as his FA portfolio. And we'll have a little banter about how life in the Netherlands is treating people these days. Always exciting to see how the communists are doing. All right, have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. Slow, steady wins race. Don't take no with nickels. Canada's communist, by the way. So who's laughing at who? Have yourselves a great day. All the best, and bye for now.